Hi everyone, this is Brown Girl Green, and today I'm talking trash about recycling. I want to talk about what it is, does it even matter, and what the heck are these numbers and letters that are on the bottom of my plastic bottle. So let me give you the laydown on plastic. So plastic actually happens to be a pretty dirty, wasteful object. The way that it starts on its journey originally requires a ton of fossil fuels. So that includes things like crude oil and natural gas, things that we clearly know are super dirty and are basically fueling the climate crisis. It's already looking bad for plastic. Then our little buddy goes into these power plants that are expected to produce the plastic, and these plants end up releasing tons of sketchy toxic chemicals into the atmosphere that ends up leaking into the air and the water of communities nearby. And guess what, people? Oh god. Guess what, people? These communities are usually low income, brown and black communities who honestly have no say in the matter. They just have to accept that they live near these plants and have to deal with these companies polluting their environment. So plastic already has a pretty bad reputation with the environment. Then on top of that, a bunch of countries like America and all these other wealthy developed nations in the global north end up exporting millions of tons of trash to countries in Asia like Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam. So these countries are basically dealing with all this trash coming in that they didn't even ask for and are just like, what the heck, man? Why are you doing this? And basically, these countries are even now trying to push to ban the import of this waste into their country, but that's going to be a slow and steady process that they're going to keep fighting for in future years. And basically, once this trash and these recyclables and this plastic is in their country, they then have to just go through what's valuable, and that's chill. But then we have all this like cheap, super low quality plastic, and what happens to that ends up getting burned, ends up getting buried into a landfill, or it just releases a bunch of toxins into the environment. So it ends up being this like super crazy circular crisis where we're disposing of the plastic, not taking responsibility for it, and communities on the ground are having to deal with it day in and day out. It's pretty messed up. So now I bet you're wondering, this far into the video, can we actually recycle plastic without destroying the earth and harming communities? Well, the answer is yes, but it gets a little messy. So when I go to the market, or you probably go to the market, you probably find these bottles and you probably see like here, there's like a number 1 on the bottom of it. And I know for the longest time, I was like, what the heck does that mean? And I was like really confused. And I know that for probably you all listening to this, you're probably just as confused. Probably why you even watched this video in the first place. The 2 most common types of plastic that you can typically find that are recyclable are one, which is PET, which is called polyethylene terephthalate. I probably destroyed the pronunciation of that, but it's typically found on plastic jars, plastic bottles, salad dressings, other drinks. Or you can find it as number 2, which is high-density polyethylene, another complicated name, which can be found on cartons, on juice bottles, shampoo bottles, or even liquid detergent. But even among these recyclable materials, you actually have to do a bit more digging because depending on where you live, your local recycling center may not even recycle these forms of plastic, which is a little frustrating, but I mean, it is a bit of a start that you can take on to figure out how you're gonna recycle your plastic. So I would recommend just recycling ones that are labeled 1 or 2 because those are the most commonly accepted at local recycling centers, whereas ones that are labeled 3 through 7 through question mark through XYZ, whatever, you probably are going to have to call the local recycling center, see if that can even be disposed of, or it may actually just end up in a landfill. And I know that that's probably super ridiculous and inconvenient for most of you. Like, even I was like, am I really going to call up my local recycling center? And I would say that in general, it could be a good call to take the extra mile and do that. But overall, I think that if you're recycling 1 and 2, you're off to a good start to at least try to dispose of these things properly. Overall, after all this information I just spouted at you, I just really want to drive the point home that at the end of the day, it's not consumers like you or I that are at complete fault for this plastic crisis, but we do have the responsibility to figure out how to take action and to keep on trying to change the market to create a plastic-free, zero-waste world. And so I want to offer 2 big options that you can do and implement in your everyday life to try to address the plastic crisis. So 1, you can try to eliminate or reduce your plastic consumption as often as possible. At the end of the day, it's a design and manufacturing problem, right? Because a lot of these big companies that I mentioned are the ones that are creating all these products. They know that they can do it a different way, but instead they're choosing to do it this way because consumers aren't really telling them that they need to do it any other way. So I would say that thinking about like why do we consume so much plastic and how can we extend the life of a plastic object by either reusing it, by either making it into like this cute little like planter thing, or you can reuse a pill bottle and turn it into like a travel shampoo, or like you can store your cookies in your old Chinese takeout like soup tin thing. Anyways, I think that you can do any of those things and it can extend the life of your plastic, or you can try to invest in more zero waste products that don't even use plastic packaging, or you can just opt out of using plastic in your day-to-day life as much as possible. But again, it's pretty impossible to do that because of the world we live in. So that brings me to point number 2, that's even more important, is that you as the consumer have the right and the power to call out these companies who are producing their products this way. So you can either create an online petition, like tell X company that you really like, hey, you need to eliminate plastic by X date, and then have thousands or millions of your offline and online friends to sign the petition and then email it and send it to this company. Or you can just shout out this company, DM them, try to really put them on blast for having all this plastic. And we as consumers have the power to tell them that the market wants them to think about zero waste, wants them to think about more environmentally friendly options for packaging and distribution. So that's the second option. The third option that I think is really great is that you can do these beach cleanups or cleanups in your community where you're going around with your friends and family, picking up trash, and again, you can identify from that of the plastic waste what companies or brands are really pushing for this plastic that you could actually try to intervene and build momentum to get them to stop. So those are some of my suggestions on addressing the plastic crisis. I am really excited to continue talking trash about waste and how it's produced in our society and what we can do about it. I'm super excited for my next video. It'll be about glass. And so check me out next time. This is Brown Girl Green talking trash.